Dave, we have had more or less 4 years of zero growth in our wages.
Yeah.
And we've seen our wages drop by around 14-15% in value, which affects our nurses who are coming up to retirement because it affects their pensions. And we're not seeing any hope for the next 5 years of this government that there's going to be any increase in pay. And in fact, we know that for people like us who are nurses, we won't see a 1% pay rise because of the low pay agenda in the NHS. But nurses are starting to talk about industrial action and talking about strike. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think I've pretty much spoken in every industrial action resolution at Congress for the last 15 years, and I remember speaking on it 15 years ago. And actually, in a lot of ways, my views haven't changed. I think there's a deep problem with nurses feeling that strike action means walking away from the bedside or from the home of someone who's extremely vulnerable and they're not getting care. And I think we all have a problem with that. But I think there are a lot of industrial action that we've never done, that we as an organisation never done, that could really hit organisations, could hit finance, could hit governments very, very hard. So for instance, I think you can still deliver safe care, because that's really important, that goes to the heart of me as a nurse. But you could completely mess up the finance system in the NHS, in the independent sector, the whole monitor system, the whole CQC system. You could stop any minister at the Department of Health getting any data, any statistics. And I think the system would completely buckle. If basically no one got any management reports, there was no board reports, there was no minister's reports, there was no money moving around the system, and yet vulnerable people are still getting the care they need, even if we don't cooperate with that. I think nurses have to do more, because I think you're right, I think the government is going to be brutal on nurses, and they've got a mandate for the next 5 years to be incredibly brutal on pensions, on pay. They're trying to get rid of unsocial hours. They're even trying to change all the rules on industrial action and strike. So I actually do think we need to do more, and I think we need to engage members more to get them to support us, because it's not enough for activists to say we want this. We need to get the membership behind us, and we need to come up with a lot better ways of engaging with the membership and them feeling it's their action too.
Europe, in or out?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think in terms of nursing and healthcare, being in Europe is a really good thing. I think some of the worst excesses around industrial relations law, around human rights law in the UK is being overturned by Europe. And I certainly think we need to be a lot more international in our focus. I was actually a big fan of staying in the International Council of Nursing. I think it was a mistake that the RCN came out of it. I think whether or not Britain stays in the European Union actually is probably less of an issue, that we work with other European countries. Switzerland isn't in the EU. I don't think Iceland is. But I think we would need to work a lot closer with Europe on European health and social issues. And to be honest, it's a really good way of overturning the government. I don't think the government listens an awful lot to nurses. I don't think they listen to a lot of papers. I don't think they listen to the public. But they hate being overruled in European courts. And that's a really good thing for us.
Dave, I mean,
Right.
We've both been in the RCN for a long time. And when you've been in an organisation for a long time, you always look back and you think, well, it's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
So if you get elected to council, who would you want to play you in the history of your council career in film?
Oh, that's a good one. See, I'd like to do one of those films where you get different actors. So I'd like me as a student nurse, in my head it's Johnny Depp. He'd probably need to put on a bit of makeup. But I think Johnny Depp in my wilder years, my kind of student nurse, staff nurse years, that would be good. I think it'd probably be Danny DeVito for me now. I think yeah, a nice kind of a bald, fat, funny comedian would work really, really well for me. Yeah, I quite like the idea of having different people playing. But yeah, there is a lot less fun. And I think fun's an important part. I mean, I think one of the important things for me about Congress is the socialising and the fun. This isn't just all about politics and policy. That's important. But actually, the RCN's family, and families need to go out and get drunk together. Families need to party together, and that stuff's important.
Okay, Dave,
Right.
here's another tricky question for you.
Okay.
Corbyn, Burnham, Kendall, Cooper. Which
Ooh.
one?
Okay. Well, I should probably say, hand on heart, I'm not a member of any political party, but I could probably bung them £3 and do a quick vote. I personally really like Jeremy Corbyn. I think what I like about him is he is just dead straight and dead honest and answers questions. He doesn't sound like he's got a whole media team behind him. And he's a bit of an old lefty. I think I'm a bit of an old lefty. I think it's quite a good idea rich people pay a bit more tax. Quite like to see Amazon pay some tax. I don't see what's wrong with nationalised industries, to be honest. So, yeah, I'd be happy if Corbyn wins. Because I think it'd be good to have a good left-wing voice in politics. You know, the right's really well organised. We're not short of big speakers from the right. I think some good left-wing people, yeah, I think people want it. I think people are a bit sick of austerity and people are sick of this government.